So don't make it more complicated than it is. When you feel fear, your thought is screwed up. It's that simple. You're not thinking a valid thought as far as your inner being goes. And you know, that matters. You can line up with all the people on the planet, because there are certainly a lot of fear mongers who will take you down the fearful trail on every subject in the world. But what you're trying to do, what you want to do, what you must do, what you were born to do, you got to line up with Source. And when you feel fear, it means you're not lined up. It's so simple. This thought doesn't line up with Source. Should I keep thinking it?
No.
Well, sometimes I can't not think it because the momentum's pretty strong. But when you go to bed at night, that momentum's going to subside. And when you wake up tomorrow, you've got a choice about whether you pick it up and continue it on, or whether you let it dissipate a little more. When you feel that concern, that fear, what does that tell you about what the Source within you knows about you? If fear is present when you're thinking in opposition to Source, what must Source be thinking at the same time that you're feeling fear? It's like if you're walking across a very narrow ledge and there's a big distance that you could fall and scuff yourself up pretty good, and you haven't practiced it, you don't feel stable. As you say, you're all over the place. You haven't practiced your steadiness. We say stay off the ledge. Stay off the ledge because it's not going to go well. And so some would say, well, then my fear is well placed. And we say, well, it's showing you that you're in a treacherous place. And so then you say, well, when I stand here, it just scares me to death. And we say, then don't stand there. Go someplace that's not so scary. And it's the same thing about these thoughts that you're thinking that are giving you fear. Go someplace where the thoughts you think. Go someplace with your thoughts that don't feel scary. Doesn't that make sense? That's what your guidance system is about. Your guidance system is saying to you, you see, did you follow us when we were saying that you are an extension of this non-physical part of you?
Yes.
Well, that non-physical part of you is with you all the time. That non-physical part of you is right here in your current experience, whatever it is, all the time. And that non-physical part of you has a perspective, and it's a perspective of well-being. It knows your value. It knows the value of those that you are interacting with. It has all good thoughts about that. But when you think a thought that is really divergent from what the Source within you thinks, then you feel the separation. It's too strong a word because you're never separated, but you feel the distortion, the pinching off, the stretching of the relationship, so to speak. And that's what that fear is. So I'm afraid, which means I feel fear, which is an emotion. I don't want to be disappointed, which is fear of something that I will feel later, but instead of feeling the fear, I'm feeling the disappointment instead of the fear, because I'm focused in ways that are causing emotions, and I'm trying to control emotions, but I'm not doing anything about directing my thought. You know what fear is? Fear is that's a button that goes not the receptive mode, not the receptive mode, not the receptive mode, not the receptive mode.
I'm disconnected.
Not the receptive mode. You're not on the vibe of the Source within you. The Source within you is very far in a different opinion than you are right now. So if your opinion is, I might get it wrong, I'm not getting it right, I don't know what to do, what do you think Source is feeling? You're steady. It's all right. It's working out. Don't you love having guidance? When you feel fear, turn away from whatever it is that is causing the fear toward something that is its opposite. We think that you all are not really understanding what fear is, what guidance is, what it means. And until you do, then you're just going to keep talking about it and relating it to all kinds of different things, and you're just going to keep it active within you, when right now, doesn't it feel simple? Just back away from the ledge. Just back away from the ledge. Just don't keep going there. If you were consciously aware that you have been around as long as we are consciously aware that we have been around, you would not let the things that people are worrying about bother you, because you would realize how humans have worried about things almost from the time that they've been around, and things continue to evolve and get better and better and better and better and better and better and better. Of course, you could focus upon any little pocket of the world, and you can find within it components that are pleasing to you or components that are not, and it really is a matter of tuning yourself to them. So now what you are demonstrating here, you are demonstrating that you're pretty good at observing conditions that make you feel good, but you also are demonstrating to a certain extent that a large part of the reason that you're able to feel good is because you managed to do a good job of controlling the environment around you, so that you don't have that much to see that doesn't feel good. But that when you do see something that doesn't feel good, then you're sort of out of control, which leads to the reason that so many people are struggling so hard to try to control the environment around them. In other words, almost everybody that you meet is doing their best to control the environment, and their happiness pretty much is dependent upon how much control of the environment they think they have. So you've wrestled your environment to the ground and done a pretty good job of it, and you're feeling pretty good, and then something as simple as a bird's nest sets you off balance, and then your well-meaning friend giving you even more about things that you cannot control. So now we're rambling in response to your rambling, but we want to say to you that until you reach the place where you finally just get it, that there's too much out there in this world that you are focused upon that you cannot control, and that if your happiness depends upon being able to control it, you will not ever be happy, and there is an alternative other than isolating yourself away from things that bother you, and that alternative is fixating on things that feel good until you've practiced that so powerfully in your vibration that only things that feel good then come into your world. In other words, sometimes people say, Abraham, I don't get what you're saying. If I focus upon the best part of my world and I achieve only that vibration, then won't the universe just bring me a really good world? And won't I just observe my really good world? And then won't the universe just bring me more of a really good world? And isn't that sort of what I've already been doing here? And we say, yes, but we want you to go beyond getting your feeling response from what you're observing. We want you to use the power of your mind to take things that you are worried about, like the polar bears, and envision them into a place where you feel better. Just like our friend is warming up for his run so that he doesn't strain a muscle, we want you to warm up for your jog through the world. We want you to warm up for the friend who might approach you with information about something that you don't want. We want you to be ready for it. We want you to be warmed up and ready for it, rather than trying to prevent yourself from ever having an experience from which you have to move from not feeling good, as our wise friend said, into a greater feeling of relief, into a greater feeling of relief, and a greater feeling of relief. As you reach for feelings of relief because you want relief, not because you're trying to make something happen, you want relief, what begins to happen is you tune to a vibration that only allows you access to things that feel good in your world. Esther is discovering the bigger her life gets, the less control she has over more components of it. And when you believe that you have to control your world, then you have to live a very narrow world. when you will let the control of your world be law of attraction, and instead you find your placement in it by reaching for the best feeling thoughts you can find, now you can get out there where the world is, where things are happening in the world, without having fear that you will be stung by something that you do not want to see. There's a fine line, and it's really a line worth understanding, between wanting so much to feel good that I wall myself off from any thoughts or ideas or experiences that might not feel good, and understanding that under any condition I can bring myself to a place of feeling good. And people worry. They think, if I can bring myself to a place of feeling good under any conditions, then won't the universe just give me more awful things over which I have to overcome? We say it doesn't work that way at all. You break out into this room of freedom when you finally get it, that you can be stable and in alignment no matter what. And there are so many people that are determined to focus upon some awful thing in the world, and we do not deny that there are awful things happening in the world. They're determined to focus upon some awful thing in the world and fixate on it with some intention of they're fixating on the awful thing, somehow then shedding light on it and solving the problem. And we say fixating on the awful thing only separates you from the solutions, from the answers, and from who you are the whole time that you're fixated on it. And we think that at very deep levels you understand that. That's why you've trained yourself to be so ultra sensitive that you don't even want to watch a bird's nest fall. But we want you to understand that you want your sensitivity to prepare you for alignment under any and all conditions, not to coach you into a corner where you are depriving yourself of opportunity to have experiences. The only freedom that you will ever experience is the freedom from negative emotion. And negative emotion, that freedom from negative emotion, does not mean depriving yourself of exposure to experience. It means tuning yourself to the best of every experience. And it's such an interesting thing, because as you tune yourself and tune yourself and tune yourself, the level of experiences parlays into greater and greater and greater and greater things. You just have to know, even as you've been moving around through these cities that this ship has taken you to, don't you notice a remarkable difference in the vantage point or the viewpoint of the people who live upon your planet? Can't you just feel the differences in the way they see the world, and the differences in the results of the way they see the world? And doesn't it make you, the more of the world that you see, doesn't it make you understand that you have no hope of ever controlling it? And so doesn't it make you want to just sort of give that up? So when you give up control of the polar bears, or you give up control of the bird nest, or you give up control of whatever it is that's worrying you, and instead you gain control of your ability to focus upon something that feels good regardless of where you are standing, then you'll discover the freedom that you understood when you were born, the freedom to stay tuned into source energy, the freedom the bird feels even though her nest has fallen. In other words, the freedom that the polar bear feels even when it appears to be in trouble. In other words, the thing that the beasts have over the humans, hands down, and is really something for you to strive toward, they don't worry. They don't fret. They don't fuss. They don't feel negative emotion. They don't focus upon things and hold themselves chronically in vibrational places that make their lives unpleasant. They live joyful lives from the moment they are born until they are gone. And Jerry and Esther, every time we have a conversation like this, they are inundated, especially if Jerry is unwise enough to put it on a weekly tape program. They are inundated with those who are sure that the animals are being mistreated, or that the humans are being mistreated, or that somebody's being mistreated, as if attention to people being mistreated will solve that problem. In other words, you have the ability and the desire and the knowing within you to be a joyful being. You just have to train your thoughts to allow that. And the better you get at it, the better things will manifest around you. But we so want you to hear the difference between feeling good when you don't have a reason to, which will give you a reason to, rather than demanding a reason to, which won't give you feeling good. In other words, you've got to find the feeling and practice it chronically until the world will actualize that way around you. And then well-meaning friends may very well come to you and say, please lick my ice cream cone. It tastes like manure, but I want you to try it. And you say, I have my own source. I have my own source of things that I give my attention to. And they say, oh, but you really should try this. It's awful, but we're all doing it. We're all doing it. It's the new trend. We have a cause. But you've practiced your own autonomy. You've practiced your own connection enough that you are not dissuaded by their pervasive and persuasive argument for lack.